You're tuned into Collateral Damage, the military families FAP and IDC leave behind. Voices have been altered, because in this system, honesty has a price. Let's jump into another soldier, Family Advocacy Program, Systemic Issues and Broken Families.
Welcome to the deep dive. Our goal is always simple: maximum insight, minimum overload. Today, we're taking a hard look at the Military Family Advocacy Program, FAP for short. Now, its mission sounds crucial, right? Supporting military families. But, well, the sources we've got paint a different picture. They suggest it can actually derail lives. Become a real bureaucratic trap.
That's exactly right. We're not just talking theory today. We're diving into a specific case study, and honestly, it's deeply unsettling. This account raises some really serious questions about due process within FAP, how an attempt to get help, guidance, allegedly turned into, well, disaster, career ruined, marriage destroyed.
Right.
So our focus is really on unpacking how that could happen. How does a support program end up delivering essentially punishment without accountability?
Okay, well, let's start right there at the beginning, because that initial step kind of sets the stage for everything that follows, according to this account. So the service member didn't go to FAP because of some big blow-up or incident?
No, not at all.
They went voluntarily.
Yeah.
In what the source calls good faith, really hoping to save a struggling marriage.
Yeah, seeking help. They saw FAP as a resource, for guidance, maybe improving communication, not as some kind of disciplinary place.
And that good faith seems to be the first thing that got lost here.
It seems so. The expectation was help, collaboration. But the source material says that almost right after FAP talked to the service member's spouse, boom, the service member was labeled the offender.
Wow. Okay, so that dynamic just flips instantly.
Yeah.
From someone seeking help to suddenly being the accused party. But let's clarify that label, offender.
Mm-hmm.
In the FAP context, what does that actually mean? Is this like a criminal charge under military law?
And that's such a critical point. No, it's not. The FAP process is administrative. It runs completely separate from the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So you get this massive consequence, career disruption, life turned upside down, things you'd associate with, a serious finding, but you don't get the due process protections that come with a court-martial or even like standard admin separation.
Right. No formal legal framework protecting them in the same way.
Exactly. The source claims they're treated as guilty right from that moment of designation, but without the basic requirement of knowing what they're actually accused of, like you'd get in a proper investigation.
And that leads us straight into what sounds like the core procedural breakdown in this case. The sources claim that get this, over 2 years, FAP refused to tell the service member the specifics, the actual details of the accusations that led to that offender designation.
2 full years. Yeah. Over 700 days of trying to fight a ghost, really. And that's the heart of the due process complaint, isn't it? You try to appeal, you try to clarify, but how can you appeal something when you're not told what it is?
The source asks that exact question. How in the world do you defend yourself when you don't know what you are accused of?
It completely paralyzes your ability to respond, to seek any kind of justice or correction.
I get the frustration, absolutely. But playing devil's advocate for a second, is there an argument from FAP side for why they might delay disclosure like that?
Yeah.
Maybe protecting the spouse? Is that the rationale?
That is generally the justification FAP uses, yes.
Yeah.
Protecting the confidentiality of the person making the report, to encourage people to come forward without fear. It makes sense on paper.
Okay.
But in this specific case, remember, the service member was the one who initiated contact. They went looking for help.
Right. They volunteered.
So the moment that designation flipped, that protective shield and non-disclosure, it allegedly became, well, a weapon, a tool that effectively took apart their career and their relationship. The initial good faith just vanished from the equation.
And beyond just not knowing the accusations, the service member also reported feeling pressured during this time.
Yes, that's another layer. They were allegedly pushed to fill out mental health forms, sign official documents, all without having legal counsel present, which, suggests a process that isn't just accidentally missing due process steps, but maybe actively sidestepping them, relying solely on that initial administrative label of offender.
So, okay. They're stuck for 2 years. They don't know the accusations. They feel pressured. You can just imagine the desperation.
Yeah.
What did they actually do? What steps did they take to try and get some answers or resolution?
Well, according to the source, they tried pretty much everything, all the official channels you'd expect.
Like what?
They went up their chain of command. They took it to Garrison Command. They filed formal ICE complaints. That's the Interactive Customer Evaluation System. They even went to the Inspector General, the IG, the watchdog.
The very office is designed to handle these kinds of procedural complaints and potential misconduct.
Exactly. The established avenues for redress.
And the result?
Uniform failure, apparently. The source material is blunt. Nothing worked.
That must have been absolutely crushing, hitting dead ends everywhere.
Yeah. It seems the system just closed ranks, protecting the finding while blocking any real challenge to how that finding was made. They even managed to contact a regional FAP manager. This manager apparently suggested one last appeal step, but get this, even they admitted it was likely largely pointless.
Pointless? Why?
Because the core problem hadn't changed. The service member still didn't know the specific accusations, so what exactly were they appealing?
When someone inside the system basically tells you the appeal process is futile, that's bleak. You really are trapped.
Completely trapped. And adding another layer of constraint onto all this was the Military Protective Order, the MPO.
Right, the MPO. They were under that for the entire 2 years.
Over 2 years, yes. And for listeners who might not know, an MPO isn't just a simple stay-away order. It has massive professional consequences.
Explain that a bit. What's the day-to-day impact on a service member's career?
Oh, it's devastating. An MPO usually means immediate restrictions on duties, maybe moving billets or even bases. It often means losing access to classified information, weapons handling.
Security clearance issues.
Almost certainly. Revocation or suspension is common. So if your job, your MOS, depends on deployments, classified access, leadership roles, that MPO effectively slams the brakes on your entire career.
Okay.
It can easily lead to administrative separation down the line. And all the while, it isolates the member and basically signals to everyone around them that they're considered high risk, all based on accusations they haven't even seen.
And kept under that cloud for 2 years, unable to even talk to their spouse, which ironically was the opposite of why they went to FAP in the first place. They wanted to improve communication.
Precisely. The cure became worse than the disease, exponentially so. And when they tried to figure out how to lift the MPO, more confusion. Total system dysfunction, it seems.
What happened there?
Well, the commander apparently told the service member, hey, your spouse can lift this anytime. Simple enough, right?
Seems straightforward.
But then FAP apparently contradicted that directly. They said something like, we don't make policy, we only make recommendations, leaving the service member completely stuck in the middle.
So the commander points one way, FAP points another, and the MPO just stays.
Stays, yeah. That kind of conflicting guidance, that bureaucratic runaround, it suggests something deeper than just, administrative clumsiness.
What does it suggest to you based on the source material?
It suggests, potentially, either a system designed for obstruction, perhaps unintentionally, or, as the source alleges pretty harshly, personnel who are just fundamentally unprepared or untrained for the complexities.
Either way, the result for the individual is the same.
Exactly. Trapped, no clear path forward, tangled in red tape and conflicting directives, negligence or incompetence, the outcome is devastating.
So let's pull back a bit and connect this individual story to the larger claim the source is making.
Yeah.
They insist this isn't just one bad case, right?
Correct. The source argues this is indicative of a systemic problem, not an isolated incident.
And the ultimate irony here, the intervention aimed at saving the family actually destroyed it.
That's the tragic outcome reported. The marriage the service member desperately tried to save, it was obliterated by the process itself. The allegation is that FAP, by validating what the service member calls false claims and preventing any real defense or communication, actively accelerated the relationship's demise.
Instead of helping, it poured gasoline on the fire.
That's the picture painted, yes.
Yeah.
And allowed allegedly harmful actions by one party to continue unchecked because the other was silenced by the process.
Which leads to that really damning assessment from the source about FAP personnel themselves. Can you remind us of that?
It's incredibly strong language. They suggest the personnel involved are potentially deliberately negligent, intentionally harmful, or completely and utterly untrained and ineffective.
That's brutal, but it reflects the level of frustration and damage reported.
It's the direct result, the source argues, of this systemic refusal to operate with basic procedural fairness. When you have a program with the power to label someone, restrict their life and their career, but it operates seemingly without the obligation to explain why. To show its work, you eliminate any chance for defense or correction. And when seeking help reliably leads to punishment, the system's fundamentally broken its own promise.
So wrapping this up, what's the core message here for you, the listener? especially for anyone connected to the military or dealing with large institutions?
I think the main takeaway isn't just that FAP can go wrong. It's understanding how it allegedly goes wrong in cases like this. It's the specific danger zone. An administrative body wielding immense punitive power.
The power to designate offender, impose MPOs, effectively end careers.
Exactly. All that power, but operating without the mandatory due process checks you'd expect, primarily the simple act of telling someone what they're accused of.
That lack of disclosure is key.
It's the linchpin. That insulation, that refusal to communicate, it just paralyzes the individual, leaves them completely defenseless.
And for anyone else who might be in this situation or fears finding themselves there, the source had a call to action, didn't it?
It did. A clear message. Speak out. Share your story. The idea being maybe collective pressure, public awareness, can force the kind of reform that individual appeals, according to this account, simply couldn't achieve, warn others.
A call for transparency through shared experience.
Essentially, yes. Maybe external accountability can fix what internal mechanisms failed to.
Which leaves us with, I think, a really profound final thought to consider. What does it really mean for oversight, for how we structure these programs, when a system designed for support for sensitive family issues can apparently function as an entity that assigns guilt and delivers career-ending consequences, all operating outside the established military legal system?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It forces us to ask, is FAP located correctly within the military structure? Should a program with this kind of life-altering impact be purely administrative, under HR, essentially? Or should its findings, especially the punitive ones, be subject to review by an independent legal body? Should it operate with formal due process protections much closer to, say, the UCMJ, given the stakes involved? Reevaluating its very classification and oversight seems critical.
Where does accountability truly lie, and how do we ensure it? A tough question, but a vital one raised by this deep dive. Thanks for walking us through these sources today.
Absolutely. Important discussion.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe as we have so many more stories to tell. This isn't about one person, it's about a broken system. Contact us if you'd like your story told.